Hello, my name is Bacelar. I'm a second-year PhD student at Auburn University, and on behalf of the Performance and Exercise Psychophysiology Lab, I'm here to present our study entitled Error Estimation During Practice May Hinder Motor Learning, Evidence from Self-Controlled Feedback Paradigm. Full disclosure before I begin, the not very reliable preliminary results changed after adding 10 participants to our sample, and this presentation will reflect the updated results. Studies have shown that giving learners control over feedback, typically knowledge of results, enhances motor learning. There are two perspectives that attempt to explain the benefits associated with self-controlled feedback. The motivation-based perspective argues that giving learners control over their feedback schedule fulfills learners' psychological need for autonomy, increases feelings of self-efficacy, increases learners' task motivation, leading to enhanced motor learning. The other perspective relies on information processing. According to this view, the benefits of self-controlled feedback are driven by the learner's opportunity to base their decision regarding feedback delivery on subjective performance evaluation, that is, engagement in error estimation. Although engagement in error estimation is suggested as one of the possible explanations behind the self-controlled feedback learning effect, it has rarely been manipulated in self-controlled feedback paradigms. The present study aimed to address the shortcoming by crossing self-controlled feedback with error estimation in the same experimental design. A power calculation determined that a total of 200 participants would be needed for this study. We then decided to conduct a sequential analysis with a predetermined stopping point at 100 observations, which is the number of participants we have collected so far. Thus, 100 participants were quasi-randomly, based on sex, assigned to one of four conditions: self-control traditional, self-control error estimation, yoked traditional, and yoked error estimation. Participants in the self-control conditions controlled their feedback schedule, whereas participants in the yoked conditions had their feedback schedule matched to a self-control counterpart. Participants in error estimation conditions were asked to estimate their performance after each trial, whereas participants in traditional conditions were not explicitly asked to engage in performance estimation. Participants perform a beanbag tossing task with their non-dominant arm, illustrated by the top right figure. They were seated in front of a computer positioned 3 meters away from the target and had their vision blocked by an occlusion board. Their goal was to make the beanbag land as close to the center of the target as possible. Feedback was delivered 50% of the time according to condition. On day 1, participants perform a pre-test, followed by the acquisition phase consisting of 10 blocks of 10 trials. They return 24 hours later to perform a retention and a transfer test, each consisting of 1 block of 10 trials. For the transfer test, participants were positioned 4 meters away from the target. Now, let's take a look at the results. Panels A and B have on their y-axis radial error and bivariate variable error, respectively. On the x-axis, we have pre-test, 10 blocks of acquisition, 24-hour retention, and transfer tests. In these figures, white squares represent the self-control error estimation group, whereas white circles represent the yoked error estimation group. The black squares represent the self-controlled traditional group, and black circles the yoked traditional group. We found that participants improved from pre-test to retention test regardless of condition, indicative of learning. There was a main effect of post-test, meaning that participants performed better in the retention test compared to transfer test, irrespective of condition. However, there was no main effect of self-controlled feedback nor error estimation. In summary, our results failed to replicate the learning benefits of self-controlled feedback, which is in line with recent studies and calls into question the effectiveness of self-controlled feedback on motor skill learning. Moreover, we found that asking participants to explicitly engage in performance estimation did not result in learning benefits. This is inconsistent with a recent study that found a positive effect of error estimation on motor learning, such that yoked error estimation groups performed better in retention and transfer tests when compared to yoked traditional groups. More studies are needed to elucidate the role played by error estimation in explaining the learning benefits of self-controlled feedback. Thanks for listening.